Wibu, kujigu, ngata ngaramerung baraigu, ngata ngaramerung dangegalgu, wanimbu ganila, wanimbu gani, wadi barai. Hello and welcome. I listen good to country. I listen good to the ancestors. Always was, always will be. Wadi country. Welcome tonight to the Wollongong Poetry Month showcase for Red Room Poetry. My name is Nicole and I will be your very nervous MC tonight. I do have a script to tell me what to say, but I'm still feeling a little bit nervy because this is my hometown. I grew up here in Wadi country. I grew up at the foot of Mount Kira, and was really blessed as a young child to look out my bedroom window and to see Gembla and Mount Nebo and that beautiful, beautiful ridgeline, and witness so many sunsets behind her, and to swim in the salt waters here and to listen to the birds and feel the westerly winds through my hair. And I feel really privileged to stand here tonight and to be your host and to showcase so many amazing artists that call this place home for you tonight. I'd like to honour the custodians, the ancestors and the elders past who have loved this country since the beginning, and pay my respects to any aunties and uncles and brothers and sisters that are in the room tonight. Now I'm going to look at my notes because I've forgotten what to say next. Acknowledgement, I've done that. It's Poetry Month. Yeah. This is such an amazing initiative by Red Room Poetry. It's the third year we've been running Poetry Month. It's a month-long program, chock-a-block, full of commissions, artist prompts, there's online workshops, there's poetry showcases in every state, as well as Wollongong. There are readings online, book clubs online. There's even a podcast this year that you can listen to. There's so much to engage with over the month of August, and we're only really halfway through. So go online to Red Room Poetry and check out what's going on for the rest of the month. There's also a community calendar that has other poetry events that are happening outside of Red Room Poetry around the nation. So it's well worth jumping on the website and having a look. I'd like to give a massive shout out to South Coast Writers Centre for partnering with us for this showcase as part of their Writers Festival, and a big shout out to Mary Gong, who is also a partner for tonight. They have very kindly opened the bar for us tonight. It's open now until 7:15. Ding, ding, last drinks at 7:15. Feel free to get up. This is a very relaxed night. Get up, go to the bar if you need to. Make the most of the bar being open. I will also do a massive shout out to Enough Said Poetry. They are a little bookstore out the front. You would have seen them as you walked in, with an amazing array of books for sale tonight. Many of the poets who are reading tonight have collections for sale. So please, on your way out, go and say hi to Lauren and check out the books that are there. This has been a free event, so that means you've got a little bit of extra cash to take a book home with you tonight. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. A bilingual collection of Mexican poetry. I'd like to welcome Tamryn.
Thanks, Nicole. This one. Thanks, Nicole. And thank you all so much for being here. A line in the sand is also another plug that I will give. It's 20 years of Red Room Poetry this year. So we have another collection filled with Red Room Commission poems across those 20 years. So check that one out. at the bookstore as well with Lauren. These poems written for trees and really acknowledging those ancestor beings and those with roots that have always been here on this country. How do you want to die? That's how you must live. What are the seeds in your heart? That's a tree you will become. Remember how to lie in earth. Go to ground, place palms upon it, speak your name, inhale. Carve a mold from the clay that made you, cast yourself inside and quiet the voices. Ear to adenine, ancient harp of microbiota, our shared folds of DNA, older than division. Honor the scars to heal the wounds. Taste the dirt that births mountains, spore and bone. Fungi in the belly, infinitely twined. These are your roots, learn to listen. In the desert you are yet to know, we died. Limbs becoming sand, I lied down and laughed. Nothing to be scared of in the vault. Birds were invented once. How we live is how we leave this borrowed body. Your father writhing until red, breath held in battle with coyote, all of us covered in flies until cells turn to chalk. Here is where you begin. Fistful of galaxy reassembled on shore, a little castle of salt lit with shells, and a bag of broken charms. Dying takes a lifetime. Lightning through your limbs, don't rush this slow, dark. And I give a shout out to Jacqueline Cavallaro, who illustrated this entire collection called Icaros. They're songs for healing. And Jacqueline's going through something at the moment that needs a lot of those healing songs. This is my final poem. It's for another Jacqueline on the other side of the sky, who's helping to grow the poem forest that Red Room Poetry has been sprouting for some time here on Dharawal country. And we're almost at 15,000 trees and 15,000 poems, thanks to the young people that are helping us to grow them, and poets as well. So it's about to take root. It started in Detroit already, and it's going to spread its way across the US next year. So it's great to have those poetic exports. For Jacqueline, you find the broken quartz, a battery in a bed of mud, gift its veined wing for me to carry to the other side of sky. Riding beside the mad river, its ever-shifting mouth, fireweed sparking edges, we sun bodies, spectres carved in black sand. Sharp tongue splits the earth, calling us inside. We take stones to the surface, recite our silent promises, shivering in serpentine water until blazing again. On the way home, a severed snake and a still bird, the buck and thimbleberries, fox-trotting gravel, the raven's smashed eye, a measure of the magic. This is how earth works. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamryn. I love listening to you recite poetry. You have such a gentle rhythm and a gentle way about you that really comes across. Thank you. Our next poet is Law White. Right, I need to get into the light to read this. Law White is a non-binary artist based on Dharawal land in Wollongong, New South Wales. They are the founder and EIC of Baby Teeth Journal. Their work has won and been shortlisted for awards and appeared in zines and indie journals from all over. They've featured as a performance poet for Enough Said Poetry Slam, Yours and Ours Festival, and the South Coast Writers Festival. So I'd like to welcome Law to the stage.
Shorter than everyone else. Thank you so much for having me. I've got 2 poems for you all tonight. They couldn't be more opposed in theme. So I'm going to start with a sad one and then hopefully bring you all back up at the end. Okay. For content warning for the first one, it's sort of got some themes of like mortality and death and The thing you need to know is that my day job is like reception at a podiatrist. So that's what inspired this piece. It's called And Then You Asked If I Would Put You Down Like a Dog, which is funnier than it sounds, but that's an in-joke, so you wouldn't get it. Okay. And then you asked if I would put you down like a dog. I won't feel heavy until I can't lift myself up anymore. At work, I'm faced with mortality every 30 minutes. Elderly couples book their appointments at the same time so they can come in together, which is as much a logistics issue as it is a romantic one. A woman tells me they haven't been out of the house yet this month. There is struggle on her face as she talks around the point where her husband is dying. I watch the clock hands help the last of the slow dancers out the door. That night, I turn over in bed and ask my love if they could pull the plug on me when I can't cut my own toenails anymore. And they avoid the question. So that's the first one. Okay, and I'm going to see if I can bring you back up. The second one, I don't know if I have a spiel. It's kind of about personal growth, let's call it. It's called It's the End Times. It's the end times. God's a therapist telling me to leave behind what no longer serves me. God's a psychiatrist recommending a course of Old Testament revenge. I'm a happy chrysalis. I'm becoming the best version of myself. I can do better. I'm not less of myself. I'm not full of myself. I'm 29. I'm thriving. I'm gutting bad dates like fish. If the vibes are off, I will walk. I will fucking leave. If it takes my suffering to survive, I will let it die. I will stand above and watch the last breaths of some immature stoic bullshit. I'm in a transitional period. I'm feeling my feelings, and that includes joy. At the end of my rope, I let go. At the end of my rope, I find the ground.
Thank you, Law. I'm not 29 and I still feel like a chrysalis. I hope I always do. I hope I'm 90 years old and still feel like a chrysalis. I'd like to introduce now our musician for this evening. So our wonderful poetry showcases not only showcase the spoken word, but also the sung. And tonight we are really honoured to have Jodi Phillis with us, who you may remember was in an incredible, I'm a bit of a fangirl, she was in an incredible 90s band called The Clouds. Still is, I know, I shouldn't say was. They're still going strong. Jodi started out in the early 90s with alt rock band The Clouds, who earned gold record for debut album Penny Century and have gone on to achieve a global following with 6 critically acclaimed solo albums under her belt and great albums with the Deer Hunters, Roger Loves Betty and the Glamour Rays. Her 6th solo album, We Need to Be Free, was released in 2022 and it's amazing and you should go and buy it and listen to it. And here is Jodi Phillis.
Thanks, Nicole. That happened quickly. I didn't realize I was going to be on so soon. Thanks for having me and inviting me to do this. You've pulled me out of hibernation. I haven't played for a long time, so this is good. And just as I was listening to those beautiful poems, it struck me how poetry is so naked compared to songs and just amazing. So yeah, I write songs and I write words, but I'm going to sing 2 songs by poets who have trusted me to write melodies for their poems. I really love doing that. It's well, it takes the pressure off for a start, not having to write the words, but because they are the hardest part. I'm lucky to know some really incredible poets who are incredible people, because I think they go together. Because you're mining for wisdom and soul. So yeah, this first one is on that record that Nicole was talking about, We Need to Be Free, which came out last year. It's called It's All About Love. And it was a poem sent to me by my friend Martha Sear, who is a poet and an environmental historian. And she wrote these words for a good friend of hers who was having a really hard time. She sent them to me. I opened it up, looked at it on the screen of the computer, and I read them and loved them. And the melody just kind of went bang into my head. And it was bizarre. But that was the power of these beautiful words. They already had their rhythm inbuilt in them. They were ready to go. So here is You Are Loved. Body, you are safe and encircled by care. Gentleness is here now. Self, you are seen and you are not alone. Pain, you're real and befriended by a great compassion that can heal and honor your striving heart. You are have been loved, will be loved, and will love in all ways without end. You are have been loved, will be loved, and will love in all ways without end. Being continue, the whole cohort of fellow beings called you on will unceasingly. Spirit flow downhill or up, flow on, flow on. You have been loved, will be loved, and will love in all ways without end. You have been loved, will be loved, and will love in all ways without end. You have been loved, will be loved, and will love in all ways without end. Without end. Thank you. So the other song I'm going to play is a collaboration with a dear friend, Gianni Menichetti, who lives in Positano, Italy. He was the long-term lover and willing slave of Valley Myers, a great Australian artist. And he has only written a few poems, well, I don't know, maybe 50 in his long, long life. He's in his 70s. But they're beautiful and they're totally connected with the earth and with the wild valley that he lives in just back from just under the cliffs in Positano. He lives there with like 30 dogs and pigs and roosters and cats and tortoises, and all alone, no running water, no electricity, kind of like a hermit's life, but he's the friendliest, chattiest person you'll ever meet. He wrote this poem called End of an Era for Valley Myers's 120-year-old tortoise, Winnie, and she died last year. So Gianni wrote these poems and sent them to me. And again, when I see a beautiful poem, a melody just happens. So it happened very quickly. We recorded it and it is now available on vinyl and with a book of poetry of Gianni's and drawings and photos. So I feel really honored to be collaborating with him, and we are going to write an album together as well. So this is called End of an Era for Winnie. It was the end of an era when you open your mouth and gave up the ghost. Oh, so slow was your life, and so slow was your death. So humble and so high, you could hear the tree grow. Breathe in the spirit of the clay. Now in a nest, surrounded by all the blankets of my sacred tree, like all the awesome candle, the crown of you look forever. The ageless sing. End of an era. It was the end of an era. End of an era. It was the end of an era. It was the end of an era. Thank you.
That was just so beautiful. I don't really know what to say apart from that. I could listen to Jodi sing all night, and I really look forward to listening to the album that you make with Gianni. It's going to be just fantastic. There's something so special about music and poetry coming together. Poetry is special on its own and music likewise, but when they come together, something transcendental happens and something new is born. And I think we just witnessed that in that last song. Next up, we have Joseph Butch Schwarzkopf Jr. Not only does he have an incredible name, but he is also an Illawarra, Dharawal country-based Filipinx poet. His debut poetry book, Pagong Cannot Climb Trees, was published in 2022. He has performed as a poet at various events, and his biggest claim to fame is appearing in the background of Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings for 0.5 seconds. Woo! Also, his favorite word is pie. Please welcome Joseph Butch Schwarzkopf Jr.
Thank you, and thanks for the space. Everyone should have a favorite word, so pie. So just to start, I just have a couple of trigger warnings, death, grief, mother issues, that kind of thing. So just your general. I have two poems for you tonight. This first poem is called Joe Butch Tupaki. It's based on or inspired by Everything Everywhere All at Once, the film that came out last year. My name being Butch, the antagonist being Joe Tupaki. I thought I'd put them together. Yeah. So my mother invites me to a family lunch, and I spend the rest of the week half present, half 10 again, unable to move, unable to remember the last 4 days, except for the fact that a dictator's son stole an election, and that time when I was 7 and my step abuser took us on a family pilgrimage to the dictator's shrine, because of course a man who would hit a child would idolize a fascist. And I grieve simultaneously for both my homeland and I grieve simultaneously for both my motherland and my mother wound, because all things roll into each other, everything, everywhere. My mother invites me to a family lunch, and in the aftermath, I lay on the couch and lose weeks, slowly sinking into the abyss. I awaken only because my lungs have forgotten how to breathe. After the hospital, my wife says Filipino men would rather go to the emergency room than get therapy. My friends say water signs automatically need therapy. My mother, the water sign, is going to therapy. It has not made her a better mother. I see the echoes of her therapy in my sisters. I don't think she ever wanted children. Somewhere she is still a teenager running away from her own mother, her freest self living under a dictatorship. Maybe that's why she agreed to our family trip to honor a dictator's embalmed corpse. Maybe that's why she, so vocal about everything, says nothing as her homeland crumbles. My mother invites me to a family lunch, and without words picks apart the life I have made without her. I build Lego to bring back the structure, but I cannot recreate myself in plastic bricks. I sit at the edge of the everything bagel. My mother says, "Bahala ka sa buhay mo." My mother says, "Fine, jump." My mother leaves because I know in all the multiverse, there's no reality where she would choose me. Thank you. And because that said ended on a sad note, I thought I'd do it slightly happier. I mean, it is happier. It's my wedding poem, so it's called Greetings. You notice how that's slightly happier? Anyway, I had never really known you till I met you. Not the outside shell you, but the hidden behind 1,000 layers you. The unsolvable puzzle wrapped in barbed wire you, the need to know basis you. The you that I met on the day that I realized I was going to marry you, as I crumbled behind a car on the corner of a street, uncontrollably weeping, warning my grandmother, and you held me. And in those arms, I met a love that I couldn't even begin to reciprocate. And so I vowed in that moment to spend the rest of my days aiming to match it. I just hadn't told you yet. And now I have, and now we're walking down this aisle hand in hand. This is it, what I dreamed of when I was 6, when my world fell apart and the separation of my family left a hole in my heart that nothing could fill. And I prayed that one day I'd meet you, but I'm still meeting you, Because how much can one person ever truly know another? I'm every day learning a new facet of you. I want to spend every day learning a new facet of you. I'm going to spend the rest of my life every day learning a new facet of you. I'm going to learn the tongue of your ancestors, learn to say guapa kaayo ka, learn to say nahigugma ko nimo. I'm going to parade with you through the streets of Cebu, holding a figure of the baby Jesus above our heads, dancing to the rhythm of your culture. I'm going to swim in the waves of your roots in Buhoon. I'm going to learn who you are or who you will be by loving who you have been. I'm going to spend every day relearning you so that in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I'm still going to be getting to know you. And every day I'm going to re-meet you. So I may as well start here with, hi, my name is Butch. It's nice to finally meet you.
Thank you, Butch. What a beautiful love poem. I also noticed he didn't use the word pie. I hope you have a poem with the word pie in it. Our next poet is Rozanna Lilley. She is a researcher and author. Her essays and poems have been widely published and anthologized. Her hybrid prose poetry memoir, Do Oysters Get Bored? A Curious Life, was shortlisted for Australia's National Biography Award in 2019. In 2022, Rose was shortlisted for the Red Room Poetry Fellowship. Woo! Her first standalone poetry book is The Lady in the Bottle. So I'd like to welcome Rose onto the stage, please.
It's not always the case, but I was saying that it tends to mark generations. I still read my poetry from paper. The first poem I'd like to read this evening is from my book, The Lady in the Bottle. This is a little chapbook. You can see it's thin, see? And it has 30 poems, and each poem is based on an episode of the 1960s TV show, I Dream of Jeannie. And basically I write from the perspective of Jeannie and try to take her subjectivity seriously. For anyone who's not familiar with the series, the basic premise is that she's been uncorked from a bottle by an astronaut, and she goes to live with him in Cocoa Beach in Florida. And it's a case of unrequited love on her part. She, of course, has to grant him wishes quite constantly. And in this particular episode, he is performing in an amateur concert at the space station that he works at. And he's a magician. And the episode, Sydney Sheldon, the airport novelist, wrote all the episodes and the titles. It's called My Master, the Magician. Abracadabra. It's almost midnight. I listen for his footfall, the house chafing in a haze of Saharan dust. Kalamazoo. A monkey in a cardboard fez pushes an empty pram, white-faced astronauts applauding her grim pantomime. Presto, the vanishing cane reveals a posy of paper flowers, each crinkled with garish sincerity. Some days I'm in the mood to disappear. It's just a question of who cracks first. I know he only wants his eggs soft scrambled, his clown shoes polished, bright with amateur promise. But when you can move mountains and make the earth shake, Cocoa Beach is a preposterous estate. I feel this book has become more understandable since the Barbie movie, so I'm quite grateful to it. The second poem I'd like to do this evening, wow, it's not very light here, is it, for oldish eyes? is, hey! Fantastic. It's from a series I've been working on for a couple of years called Beechworth, 1879. And some of you may be familiar with Beechworth, but for people who aren't, it's was once a gold mining town near the border of Victoria and New South Wales. The reason I became interested in Beechworth was because some of my Cornish ancestors emigrated there in the gold rush. And this is kind of documentary poetry, very much based on primary sources, particularly local newspapers. And I use a lot of the language of the day, but it also has a narrative and there are characters in the poem. So I thought I'd read to you the most recent one I have written, poem 27 out of a planned 52. And in this poem, you'll meet a number of characters who recur throughout the series. The first is Blanche, who's a pregnant 14-year-old, who's a servant, and she's loosely based on my great-great-grandmother. You'll also meet her employer, Miss Budget. You'll meet the widow Muir, who is eternally lovelorn. And she's employing an itinerant Chinese labourer, Arsing, to dig a well. The last couple of words in the poem are a quote that relate to the doctrine of terra nullius and the colonial ideology of expropriating Aboriginal land as though nothing happened on it or it wasn't owned by anyone. Okay, so the poem is called World's End. On separation day, Blanche wakes unmoored. She has been hauling ghost nets in the leaden night. Hundreds of gulls and kittiwakes tangled, plaintive cries strangled by rough hemp. Clutching her belly, shivers in morning frost. Crystal lattice scaffolding scalloped bird bath. Here's the scrape of skates on polished ice. Her mistress rising, floundering in a flood of continental novelties. Wringing dainty hands, Miss Budget mourns the Prince Imperial, the last Napoleon stabbed by savage lancers. Bewails Melbourne bank runs, customers biting down on each gold sovereign, collapses on chaise longue, asthmatically reciting, "The world to an end shall come in 1881. The postman whistles as he passes by, cheerfully delivers a letter addressed to Mildred Muir. A tinder, she dutifully devours each stamp, lion and unicorn, love's bestiary. In the winter garden, Arsing wipes sweat from brow, well shaft muck shifting. 2 feet down, miner's shovel meets solid rock, a pair of polished stones, hollowed on one side, unearthed in virgin soil. Thank you.
Thanks again, Rozanna Lilley. I have been told that if you enjoyed Rozanna's poetry, she has a book out the front, The Lady in the Bottle, at Lauren's Enough Said bookshop. It's quite hard to get this book. It's published in the UK. And so I highly encourage you to purchase it this evening with that extra cash that you have in your wallet and in your pockets. Yeah, that's my plug. I'm just going to move this. Okay, our next poet is Dakota Ferrier. He is He's a Bundjalung and Gumbaynggirr man based on Dharawal and Yuin country. He is an educator, researcher, and interdisciplinary storyteller. His work consists of poems and reflections that engage with country, manhood, trauma, and healing. And he has been featured in various publications and projects, including Overland, Red Room's Poem Forest, and the Sydney Biennale. I'd like to welcome Dakota.
Thank you, Nicole, and the previous poets and Red Room and South Coast Writers Festival. It's really a privilege for me to be here. This will be my last opportunity to share poems for a while. But I brought this here to add a bit of a reference point for some of the imagery my first poem speaks to, and that is of the Sheoak, the River Sheoak. It's a poem. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. It's a poem about home, but a home you've kind of never been to. So longing for that place. And Red Room commissioned it. So it's called Sheoak Shores. Somewhere in between beginning and end are shaded beds on sacred bends, made in layers of leaves resembling strands of ancient sacred ladies. Where sweet waters ebb and soft northern winds blow, faceless maidens bellow, my arms and Nawi follow, as their rhythms sing me home upriver. Here, spirits creep amongst echoes. Keep dry eyes on sweet waters' tides, watch them rise before I fall, for saltier waters dissolve river borders, for once stay on course. In branches, old law women call, guiding my oars toward Sheoak shores. Wrinkled bark mimics brown skin, carved marks reveal maps of kinship. Names, voices, and stories all told in sacred song, and grandmothers of Sheoak hold sacred bends strong. The singing recedes from the tips of her scale leaves, down to a humming heartbeat in the earth beneath my feet. Grandest mother, I am sorry we never had a chance to meet. I'm sorry your roots are far deeper than mine, but for now I hope that this bed of tears will suffice. So swallow me at the end of every apology and embrace my body in the roots of Casuarina. Melodic medicinal symphony of timeless ancestress, my name has been sung by her for eternity. Sheoak, she knows what is done and yet to come. Whilst earth and maternal sounds of her soft wind song, they sing me into the ground, upriver, where my bones belong. Thank you. Bit nervous. I got like my whole mob here sitting in the front, and they've actually like never really been to something like this. So give them a clap too. Yeah, big day for me, big day. And about this next poem, my final poem, I wrote with watery eyes and a heavy heart on a train ride home when I'm saying my final goodbyes to a workplace. What the first set of goodbyes to come for many, of which this poem is about. It's about goodbyes. So yeah, I'll just share it. What a beautiful tragedy it is to have to carry your decisions in each goodbye and best wishes. Goodbyes that feel like apologies you won't be featuring in someone's memories to come. The swollen and heavy goodbyes, carrying water and salt. They swell from our bellies and spill on our chests. The goodbyes that stumble when they come out. You know the ones. You can taste them rolling into the corners of your mouth. What a beautiful tragedy it is. What a beautiful tragedy a goodbye is when they're indefinite, when they're time-stamped moments of our lanes separating, when there's no more point in melancholic mulling over missed time, but to just say the words, goodbye, with your eyes, from your chest, with your water. Tragic, yes, though still say it well. Goodbye to you all. Best wishes and my deepest farewell. Thank you.
Marungu, Dakota, thank you. That was beautiful. One of those poems Dakota just recited for us is in Red Room's 20th anniversary anthology, A Line in the Sand. There are some copies out the front this evening if you're interested. And a little bird has whispered in my ear that it is somebody's birthday today also. So I think it would be lovely if we could all sing Dakota happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dakota. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! There's nothing like a happy birthday embarrassment, is there? You'll remember tonight fondly. Okay, our next poet up tonight is Holly Isemonger. Woo! She is a poet and editor from Gerringong, New South Wales. She was the joint winner of the Judith Wright Poetry Prize. Her work has appeared in various journals, and she is the author of Greatest Hit through Vagabond Press and the chapbooks Hip Shifts, If a Leaf Falls Press, and Deluxe Paperweight through Stale Objects to Press. She can be found at Isemonger on Twitter. Oh, X. Yeah, I forgot about that. X, formerly known as Twitter. Soon it'll just be a symbol. Welcome, Holly.
Yeah, so obviously everyone should vote yes. And it is really brave of me to come here and preach to the converted. I know. But in all seriousness, we all probably know some people that aren't going to vote or like haven't decided. So what you can do that's useful is perhaps not say this at a poetry reading, but go and voice some flyers on people like up the street, which is what I did. So yeah, that's my spiel. Okay. So this first poem is called The Varieties of Melancholy Experience. Sunday sadness is indignant. A pastoral morning stomps into the room. You hunt recollections for something good. Verdant trees shake outside the window. Monday sadness is metallic. It is a structure holding nothing. Its glare discharging from charm bracelets, well-washed cars, the braces of youths and shards of glass. It is a chemical film on the gums of thought. Tuesday sadness is acute. Tasks hover like the threat of root canal. The pain is callous, but the water leaking from your eyes relieves the pressure. The tears are proof of something. The water on your cheeks are like tiny receipts. evidence is a small kindness. Thursday's sadness appears a day early. This sadness is swampy and brown. It is bearing the unbearable while trekking through snow. No one notices your victories. Thor's soft incisors fall into his pint. Wednesday is unrepentant. This sadness watches your day unfold from a high moral vantage point. It has the cold demeanor of a blank Word document. Mistakes and fears are itemized and made actionable. Friday sadness is ice cream with a cherry on top. You think of the girl delighting in the treat. You think of the grief she will have to endure. Sequins smushed into dirt, the cavity the candy pulled out. And this one is for Saturday. So, Saturday sadness is a performance conducted for others. You think you are delivering it clearly, but you look down and discover you are holding a handful of teeth. Instead of being understood, you have emptied the stadium. You are more alone than ever before, and now you have a lisp. Thank you. This one is called My Life as an Artist. I lost sleep last night. So tired, my head is a potato. My life was always art, but work made it dirt. Is life always dirt? I lost my night working potatoes. A tired head, but my last sleep was art. My part is in, a new bearing from which thick plants bud. Much depression arises from the underground. I'm chasing versions of me through alleyways in search of a thought, a furtive heart, a tuber in the dark. My, so much potato. But I made it art last night. Is life always tired? Night is lost sleep. My head work was dirt. My depression is a much thickened underground part bearing buds from which new plants arise. Lost my work last night. My life was dirt. My head is but a tired potato. Sleep is a lost art. Which plants bear the buds from the underground? My depression is thick. Growth is spoiled. And what of labor? I don't do work, I hold the hands. Help in my harvest. It's my soil, me. I know what I am onto, please. A dark thought in a tuber. I am in an alleyway chasing furtive versions of my heart. Search through me. Hold on, don't harvest my labor. I help the growth of the soil and I know it's working. I am the spoils. Please me. My hands know what to do. I am chasing versions of me in dark alleyways in search of a furtive thought, a tuber for a heart. I am working on my growth. It's harvest, my hands in the soil. Please help me. I hold the spoils of my labor and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do and I don't know how to live with it. Thanks.
Thank you, Holly. Our next poet is ready and waiting at the stairs. She's doing her stretches. She's getting ready. It's been a long day. Yep. Her name is Sara Saleh. She's a human rights lawyer, organizer, writer, and the daughter of migrants from Palestine, Egypt, and Lebanon. Sara is co-editor of Arab Australian Other, and her debut novel, Songs for the Dead and the Living, through Affirm Press, is out this August. Yes, out this August? In 10 days. 10 days. Woo! And a full-length poetry collection, The Flirtation of Girls through UQP, is forthcoming. She's been busy. I would like to welcome her to the stage. Give it up for Sara.
How's everyone going? No, as David would say, that was like a Melbourne. Yeah. I'm gonna need a little bit better. Are you having fun? Yeah. All right. Amazing. I've had such a great day, and I wanted to just pause and take a real quick second to thank Red Room and the folk at South Coast Writers Festival for having me. It's my first time doing this here, and I've had a really lovely and very generous and caring, full of like a day full of care and generosity, really, and lots of good conversation. So thank you for holding space, and it is an honor to be here sharing poetry and story and reflection on Darwell country, on land, Aboriginal land, where that has storytelling has been shared and poetry told for thousands and thousands of years before. So I would like to share two poems with you, if that's all right. And the first is called Progressive, also known as White Lover. Shit. I couldn't tell you what in the internalized Islamophobia possessed me. I just had to find myself a white lover whose Twitter bio read ally, formerly known as Twitter, who posted a black tile, who likes his girls, copper skin, thick thighs, hair unruly. I get the feeling I'm not the first one he's invaded. That must make him an authority on us. Honey, he coos, stop taking everything so seriously. Not everything is about race. Because he listens to Jordan Peterson, who said, it's important to hear all sides equally. Well, some sides are more equal than others. Cancel culture is a cancer, stifles everyone in debate. Some stifling is more equal than others. The white lover is loud. You have to admit there are some who wrought the system who don't want the Australian way of life. And what about those ISIS bros who hate women? White lover talks and talks over me. See, I'm too close to it. I can't possibly be objective. He doesn't want my brain, only my acquiescent body. He likes to argue with my jaded Muslim friends. It's important to play devil's advocate. The majority of victims of Islamophobia are women, the news anchor declares. Fourfold increase in reported incidents after terrorist attack. Fourfold increase in reported incidents after terrorist attack. I tell myself this is the last time. I will end things tomorrow as white lover walks through my front door. One day it will be him on the front page of The Australian. One day it will be him we run out of town. Thank you. Honestly, I mean, even with not so elderly eyes, like it's a struggle to see. So here we go. Should make the font bigger next time. This is a poem that is in response to Kim Adonisio's poem, To the Woman Crying Uncontrollably in the Next Stall. This is called Woman Crying Uncontrollably in the Next Stall Response. I have woken in my dress, half off, zip broken at 4 a.m., have closed my legs to someone I loved. They left and opened them to someone I didn't. Thrashed restless against 600, thread count soft in the glow of my mobile phone, the only light I saw for days. cried miserable by the sea, confetti of condoms and spliffs chafing my ankles, 1 week's earnings got me a real bad breakup haircut, bangs that didn't suit my round face, backed away from the mirror, plotted all the ways I could kill him with my friends, forensic scientists and lawyers, so we would get away with it. Have bled into the back seat, never used a tampon because haram and teen pregnancy, have skinny dipped in a rock pool under the sky's drainage, sang into hairbrush, the pedestal fan, an auto tune. Hiked up a cliff to spot the crescent moon, feasted on the stars, ripped out the stitches with my bare hands because why not? I thought nothing and no one can. I hear you. Thank you for seeing me. I want to believe you when you say joy is coming. Thank you.
Woo, how good was that? I can't wait for 10 days to fly past so that I can get a copy of your book. Fantastic. It's that time of the evening where ding, 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 the bar's about to close, last drinks, but also our last poet for this evening. I'd like to think you're all having enough fun that you'd say, aw. Our last final poet for this evening is Mark Tredinnick. He's a celebrated Australian poet. His honours include 2 Premier's Prizes and the Montreal, Cardiff, Newcastle, Blake and ACU Poetry Prizes. In 2020, Mark received an OAM for services to literature and education. His 5th collection, A Beginner's Guide, came out in 2022, and I believe we have that tonight at the front desk. And House of Thieves in 2023. Mark lives and writes on Gundungurra country, southwest of Sydney. I'd like to introduce Mark to the stage, please.
Wonderful to be here on Wadi country. I'm from Gundungurra land, up the Scarp, Bowral, we call it, Wingecarribee River. I think it's probably wise to treat all the land you stand on as sacred, since it is, and we've forgotten about that for a good while. So I hope my gratitude for being on this land is apparent. Some of the people who studied with me know that I have an adage that goes, put a bird in it. In other words, a poem ain't no good unless there's a bird flying in it. I'm not sure I'm going to deliver on that tonight, actually, but I have today seen a peregrine falcon when I was riding my horse this morning, and a black-shouldered, thanks so much, a black-shouldered kite just here as we were coming in near Kembla. What a bird. And this morning an eastern robin, also what a bird, and a butcherbird. So these are the birds, I think, are the poets of the natural world, right? And they surely can't possibly need to sing and fly so well, but thank Christ they do. Poetry is for that as well. I don't know if David Stavanger remembers, but I first met David in Byron Bay years ago, and there was a reading that night when the light was also dodgy, but brilliant in a way. And that night we had Bob Adamson and Robert Gray and some other poets. First up was David Stavanger, calling himself by his stage name, with all sorts, David, of props and telephones going off and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I know you came second, I think, and Bob Adamson, bless him, because we just lost him, shuffled around and did his beautiful thing up there. And I was sitting next to Robert Gray, who's been known not sometimes to have a lot of sympathy for alternative poetry. And Robert was kind of pulling his hair out and wondering what was going on. And I was sort of laughing at him. And then I thought, hang on, I'm up next. After this guy who's completely stealing the show. So David, you and I go back a good way. What I also remember from that night, David, was how, apropos of Red Room's work actually, is how generous you were and how humble you were, because these are among our elders, our poetic elders and senior men, and you were very generous with Robert in particular, and you became fast friends from what I could work out. Also, I remember you in the crowd, which was as black as this, but I couldn't utter a phrase without hearing a woo and a click, click, and it's so wonderful what you bring, David. Also, just to acknowledge the work of Red Room, as Tamryn knows, we go back a long way. In fact, I think I've been working with Red Room one way or another since pretty much the beginning. So it's they are a great treasure in the nation, and I hope we understand that. Thank you for your work. Thank you for having me again here. I have a poem. Oh, hang on. I wanted to say this as well. Do you guys know Peter Ram? Peter Ram's with us in Spiritually. This is his ground as well. And I've worked with Peter for some years. And I think Peter said that David came to the school or a school he was at, and he was really impressed that David read somebody else's poem first. So I'm going to do that too, because I think it's a gracious act. This is a poem by Gregory Orr, a poet I much admire. It's just short. It's from his book, Selected Books of the Beloved. If you don't know Gregory Orr and his books on the Beloved, go check. They're wonderful. Who needs another earth? This one would be heaven enough, Emily D. said, if not for death. But death is real, and all that is flows toward its brink. No wonder we need hope and courage, what the book brings. So two poems. I have a poem in this book called Litany, an elegy, a commission from the Red Room, as all the poems are in this book. And I'm proud of it, but it's long and I can barely read it. So I'm going to leave it there and recommend it to your reading. I'm just going to say to you a short poem because this is a rare treat for me. My son, Henry, is in the room. Actually, that poem is for the children as well, but this one is specifically, Henry, for you. It's called House of Thieves, and it's actually the title poem of a book of mine that just came out in China, none of which I can read so far, except for the House of Thieves and the Mark Tredinnick on the cover. I live in a house of thieves. They steal my toast. They steal my time. They steal my mornings and they steal my nights. They steal the best of me and they steal the worst until I do not know what I am any good for and what use that might be. But I be no other man than this looted self, blessed by theft, this harbor for love's worst scoundrels. All right. One of whom is here tonight drinking the alcohol I just bought for him. He is over 18. It's all right. This poem is called The Age of Stars. Everything I know about the Age of Stars, I know from Brian Cox on the television the other night. You know when you're up too late and you switch on the TV before you go to bed and something's on? It's Brian Cox talking about the whole history of the universe from a Western scientific perspective, I guess. The many billions of years of history, we are in the age of stars, it turns out, and it wasn't always us and it won't always be this way. I was working at the time on this poem, which was a commission, not from the Red Room, but from some relatively new friends of mine. Liza Miller commissioned me to write a poem for her husband, Dave, who's a man from Baltimore, and he's an actuary. Don't know much about Dave actually, but I know he's an actuary and a runner. And he's the kind of person who, quite surprisingly, given his look and his profession, I suppose, surprises you all the time by quoting poems at you, like within just the whole poem. Milton, Shakespeare, Emily Dickinson, and I always feel ashamed to call myself a poet in his company. So this is for Dave. It alludes, apart from its references to physics and cosmology, it's got a bit of Dante in it at the end. In fact, it ends with a riff on Dante's closing lines about the love that moves the sun and all the other stars. You probably remember it. You know that one, Lord. It's also got a reference to John in it, and I just begin with these words from Philip Larkin's poem, The Mower. I should have said this a whole lot bigger. We should be careful of each other. We should be kind while there is still time. On little mountain, deep in winter, stop the car at midnight. Stand among the gathered bands of barrel gums and contemplate the sky. This is the age of stars, this many billion-yeared experiment in light, where nearly all the matter in the world, this universe of forms and voids we are, is organized in luminescent mobs like those assembled on the plains of time above our heads. Our being here at all is down to them, their coming and their going, the way their being comprehends the dark. So while they hold, stand glad among the living and let your breathing fall in with the stars. The eras end. All light in time will dim. Then nothing much will happen, on and on. But let's agree forever has a few more miles in its old legs. Let's make a pact to sow the light that's left to us. Let's scatter all the starlit matter we can spare. Let's dance quite often with the one we love. Let's wage iambic warfare on the prose that dumbs the days. Let's praise in jazz and think in syncopated rhythms like the winds of early spring. Let's ebb like aging stars, you say. Let's spend our waning energy among the constellations of our care. Let's learn to fall the way we meant to live. Beside the pool across the tracks from where you've lately made your home, an episode of winter rain makes landfall like a meteor shower among the teeming white of prunus trees, as if to flush their seraphs out. But when you wake into the seventh heaven, the cielo di Saturno of your way, your contemplative era, your temperate zone, you'll find above the multitude of fallen, a throng of thriving stars intact. The nearer, it seems, you draw to the stars, the farther from home, the more you get to weep at the comedy of life. But the more, if you're smart, you learn of the love that burns in the sun and all the aging stars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Can we have another round of applause, please, for Mark Tredinnick? Incredible poetry. Well, that's the end of our evening here together. Yeah, boo. It's so nice to see a room full of poetry lovers and to hear such amazing poems. Last year, I came along to this event and afterwards we're all having a drink just saying, how great was that? There should be more of this. We should do one every single month. Shouldn't we, David? No, once a year poetry month is enough. So I have some thank yous. I would like to thank the South Coast Writers Festival for partnering with us this evening on this fantastic Wollongong Poetry Month showcase, to Marigong for also partnering with us and to keeping the bar open and just being such wonderful and gracious hosts. I'd like to thank the Red Room team. We are a tiny but mighty team. There's only 7 of us, and this is such an amazing feat. It's the first time that I've been inside the engine room of Poetry Month, and I'm just in awe of all the work that David and Tamryn and Lauren and Izzy and Natalie and Annie and everybody does. So I'd like to give a massive round of applause for the Red Room team. I'd like to thank all of our poets who spoke tonight, who read their wonderful poems. I'm going to read them out again, so get your hands ready for a big round of applause for Tamryn Bennett, Law White, Jodi Phillis, Joseph Butch Schwarzkopf Jr., Rozanna Lilley, Dakota Ferrier, Holly Isemonger, Sara Saleh, and Mark Tredinnick. Woo! Thank you so much. It's been such a great night. And a big round of applause and marangbu. Thank you for all of you for coming out tonight to celebrate poetry and August Poetry Month. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a safe journey home. Have a wonderful night. And don't forget to say hi to Lauren at the Enough Said bookstore out the front on your way out. Thank you.